Outlet Liquor is your place to buy a case. Stock up and save when you shop the lowest prices available every day at Outlet Liquor. You never have to wait for a sale. The more you buy, the more you save. Only at Outlet Liquor.
What's your outlet?
Welcome, everybody, to episode 75 of Two Goalies, One Mic. I am your host, Duane, co-hosting with producer Steve, and we'll be joined shortly by none other than the man, the myth, the legend, Johnny Cully. Until then, though, a lot to cover over the last few days in the hockey world. Obviously, you have just recently just being tweeted out, I believe, earlier by Elliotte Friedman, and now it's gaining some steam. The Jack Eichel to the Vegas Golden Knights trade rumors are beginning to heat up quite a bit. And on top of that, I know you have a big win by the Buffalo Sabres last night against the Anaheim Ducks, 4-3 overtime on a Rasmus Asplund goal off a beautiful pass from Victor Olofsson. And, obviously the most important, all of this is secondary to the the Kyle Beach story and the Chicago Blackhawks scandal. Covering up sexual assault. Just a lot to cover on this 75th episode of Two Goalies on Mike, Steve.
Absolutely. It's definitely been one of the more eventful weeks in the world of hockey. So a lot to talk about.
Yes, absolutely. And before we get in, because I'm going to want to be able to talk about the Kyle Beach stuff, and what happened with Chicago more extensively. So we're going to get to that in a little bit because I want to give it the time it deserves. So for right now, let's just talk about what could possibly come down tI'm Jack Eichel to Vegas trade rumor and what that return could be. I'm not too privy to the Vegas Golden Knights roster and who is or isn't available, but I've seen some names thrown around, Steve.
As have I. One of the names you see more often than not. They kind of need to equalize in cap, even with I believe Mark Stone going on injured reserve there for the foreseeable future. But that said, people have said maybe, just maybe, either Tuck or Smith might be the guy coming back as just a here and now kind of player, just to free up that space, just as more of like an accounting move rather than them wanting to move off from Riley Smith or Tuck. But
yeah, and with the injuries to Pacioretty and like you said, Mark Stone, they're in a kind of a win now mode. So bringing in Jack Eichel would make a ton of sense for them, especially if he's ready to go and he gets the surgery he wants in possibly anywhere between 2 to 3 months. And now we're joined by fellow co-host Johnny Cullen, fresh out of hockey. Johnny, just talking about the Jack Eichel trade speculation that's heating up quite a bit today to the Vegas Golden Knights.
Yeah, I was able to catch you guys what Darren Dreger on with Baran this morning.
Yep, yeah, and then Elliotte Friedman is throwing a lot of gas on that fire, just maybe like an hour or so ago.
Well, like you said, Duane, last night, it'll be interesting to see. You brought up the Pacioretty and the Stone injuries. We saw what Tampa Bay did with the finagling of the LP long-term injury reserve, and because they're right up against it with the cap, with that, A lot of money got tied up with not only Stone's contract, but bringing in Pietrangelo, not a friend of the program, no big deal. Cully's first captain. But, they've seemed to, I don't want to say right the ship, but they struggled out of the gate, but they've won the past couple. And I'm sure that helps. But, yeah, hey, it makes sense. Like, they haven't been able to get over the hump. So surprising looking back at last year's playoffs. The Montreal Canadiens just as a whole, but the fact that Vegas is the team that couldn't, take them down, right? Like, I don't know. So, like, you got to think if you're Vegas, you got to add another piece. And Eichel at his best makes sense. But my question to you, Duane, is like with this surgery, because we're under the understanding that he goes to Vegas and Vegas lets him get his surgery, right?
Correct.
Absolutely.
What does that do to the compensation we get back? Is there a lot of caveats to it, right? Is it games played? Is it, you know what I mean? Because I think you would hope to, on top of getting first round picks, I think you would hope to get players, right? And it's tough to put caveats on a trade with players, right? It's easy to do draft picks that change, but we're talking about live bodies. How is that going to work, guys?
I know
that's tough question.
That's a tough question to answer. Another team too. I know they I think I heard today that the Ducks moved Raquel to the IR. Is it IR possibly? I think I heard. So I don't even think the Ducks are Raquel. I don't even think the Ducks are completely out of the question too, because their name has been thrown around a lot too. So maybe this could turn into a bidding war, and I think the best thing for Buffalo is a bidding war between both those teams. You want a bidding war because that that could up your return for sure. Buffalo has to take on some probably a bad contract, possibly two, and we absolutely have the space to do that. Now, one of the names that gets thrown around quite a bit is Peyton Krebs, their top end prospect. Another name thrown around is Lucas, and I'm sorry if I'm butchering this, Lucas Elvenes. So I'm not too familiar with him. He was selected 127th overall in 2017 by Vegas. I'm not too familiar with who this player is, but he's out of Sweden. I'm just trying to pull up his elite prospects page right now. But this season, not off to a hot start. He has 1 point in 2 games, but last season with the Henderson Silver Knights in the AHL, 24 points in 37 games. So I'm hoping that's not the return you're getting for Jack Eichel, or the centerpiece isn't revolved around this kid, Lucas Elvenes.
To be honest, fellas, that's what scares the hell out of me about this whole thing. Now, you look at it's tough. There's no comparables, right? But you look at a situation like Tarasenko in St. Louis. Now, it looks like they're on the mend, and he might stay, and he's doing well. But him doing well is best case scenario for St. Louis, because even if they don't keep him, he's driving his value through the roof. Where in our situation, it's the complete opposite, right? And to lose a guy where realistically, when you look at what went into getting Jack Eichel, not tanking for a whole season, and not only that, but like you tried to build around this guy for what, 6 years?
Yeah.
It's tough to I wouldn't want to be Kevin Adams right now, because every GM that is coming back is probably using that. Hey, and you're bang on, Duane. We want a bidding war. We need it because
you need a bidding war.
Without it, the centerpiece coming back in this deal could be fucking a used bus or a bag of pucks. Right?
I think, and rightfully so. You should, if you're Kevin Adams, you should be terrified of what happened with Ryan O'Reilly. You have to be. You can't have that happen twice. Twice. Granted, he had nothing to do with that. That's not his fault. That's not on him. But at the same time, you can't let that happen again here, especially with a player as valuable, and I don't care what anyone says about the injury, as valuable as Jack Eichel.
So let me ask you this. Sorry, Steve. What position-wise is there any? Do you guys lean any way? If you could choose the centerpiece of the player coming back, the prospect, is there any position you guys would prefer?
Honestly, I think we're still both defense and offense. I think we need a little more attention on the right side of things. Our left side is pretty darn stacked at the moment. Most of our wingers are left wingers more so than right wingers. Yeah. Obviously, center depth it's an issue for every single team. Yeah. It's never something that you always have on lock. Yeah. All it takes is a Mark Stone getting injured, and all of a sudden it's like, well, shit, we can really use the center here, huh? But that said, if I had to prioritize based on position rather than the quality of prospect, I would be leaning towards more people that play on the right side than the left, because I think, I mean, especially in the D pairings, if right now it's Yoki Haru, Pizik, who is playing great, and then Colin Miller are three genuine right D. Right wingers, there's no one that leaps out to me that actually genuinely plays right wing. It seems like it's a lot of lefties that just move over to the right side. And thankfully they're good at it, but,
Steve, what's funny is on Cap Friendly, and I think they do a great job, legit, Jeff Skinner, Victor Olofsson, Anders Bork, and Drake Kajula are all listed as left wing, right wing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's just funny to me, like that many guys are they play both, and I'm sure that's not all, right? Like other guys just have it listed as right wing, have played on the other side as well. So it's interesting. It kills me that the surgery. I don't know. Wait, one thing. Did you guys talk about the grievance yet?
No. The grievance. That's honest to God, though. Honest to God, I'm not worried about any grievance, Cully, because you know what? It's worded.
No, man. The PA is pretty clear. I just think it's an interesting piece to this.
Yeah, other teams shouldn't be trying to use the grievance as a bargaining chip in a trade for Jack Eichel, saying that should devalue the return because now you have to trade him. No, not at all. The Sabres don't have to trade him. It's worded pretty clearly in the CBA. The Sabres are within their right to do what they're doing, and the Players Association agreed to said CBA. So I'm not worried at all about what that CBA says, because that's neither here nor there. I commend Kevin Adams for sticking to his guns, and I hope that he isn't buying into that whole ordeal that, you have to make this trade now, because if you don't, he could file a grievance, and then obviously that makes dealing him much more difficult if at any point. And I'm not sure about the specifics of what it says.
So I'll chime in on what I know. The grievance is it's almost like a move his agent is making, knowing that it's not going to do much, because the language is, like you said, in the CBA, very clear on this, that the team is in control. But it's something that you do anyways, just so you can tell your client, hey, I'm doing everything I possibly can. The way I've heard it from the insiders, and correct me if I'm wrong, guys, is that there's almost no chance that this could force the Sabres to do anything, right? Am I wrong there? Am I off?
No, you're not wrong.
So I think you're right there to not worry too much about it. I just think it's an interesting piece to all of this, that the casual fan might not understand exactly what goes into all this. And what's going to be even more interesting when this CBA is up? This is definitely going to be on the front burner, right? From the Players Association side. You got to think a guy of Jack Eichel's caliber and skill going through this in this public of a manner is going to be put on the front burner. But it just got signed, right? We're 7-8 years away from that.
It's going to be a little bit ways away before they can renegotiate this. So this is something that the Players Association is just going to have to swallow and be like, we screwed up here. We took that right away from the players, and it blew up in our faces.
You like swallowing?
Oh God, stop.
I'm just kidding. But we did have a great conversation last night about the game. Me and Duane were able to chat a little bit. Did you guys go over last night's game yet?
Not yet.
No, not quite yet. We're obviously going to get to the Kyle Beach and the Blackhawks sexual assault scandal, but I want to give that the time it deserves. So I said we're going to do that right at the end.
Yeah, no, 100%. If you guys don't mind, my thoughts on last night's game, I was able to do, for those that don't know, Quentin Musty, drafted first overall in the NHL. We're going to be able to get him on here. He's from Hamburg. First, local guy to go first overall, because I don't think Kane didn't go first overall. He was one of those.
No, he didn't.
Hold out for London. What?
No, okay. For the OHL.
He was one of those guys that said, no, I'm going to college, and then London took him You know what I mean? With their pick.
Mhm. Yep.
So Quentin Musty, he's up in Sudbury, doing well. Great kid, friend of the program. His younger sister, Mac, is who I just trained. Boys, she is going to be playing for Team USA one day. Right now, she plays for the Buffalo Regals boys AAA SCTA team for her age. She's that good.
That's awesome.
But in the reason I brought that up, is I broke down a few of the goals, and the one that kills me is the I forget which I think was the second one, where you have Anderson make a great save. He kind of pushes the puck out to the right.
A good sequence of saves, yeah.
Yeah, and then you have your goalie make those saves, and you see the Sabres pack it in defensively. Victor Olofsson getting a puck as the acting center and absolutely shits his pants and puts it right back.
Yeah,
like almost like a pass to the other team, and it's in the back of your net. It didn't help that I think it was Will Butcher that fell in the corner, Duane. Am I right?
Yeah, Will Butcher took a tumble in the corner and couldn't get back to his man in front.
He's late getting back to his guy. Is there anything Craig Anderson can do there? I'm not going to fault him. He played excellent last night. Would have liked to see him maybe try to block the pass, knowing that maybe he didn't know Butcher had blown a tire, right? But when you watch that back, I think that the onus is on Olofsson there. That's an avoidable play, right? In a game where if they don't score that goal, it stays 3-1. Maybe we don't even get to 3-3. But I don't know about you two. When it got to 3-3, even though we played well, I tightened up. I don't know about you guys. I'm
not gonna lie. I didn't at first, and I don't mean to sound negative here, but I wasn't expecting them to come back in overtime and get that one. Not at all, because they were on their heels a lot. Craigie made some big saves for them, and Victor made a very, very high level individual play. Cut through traffic, got the pass over to Asplund on the backhand. Assman Asplund. And a lot of Assman Asplund. I think of that episode of Seinfeld where Kramer gets the wrong license plate, and he gets a license plate from a proctologist.
Yes, the proctologist.
And it says Assman on it.
Hey, I feel bad for every generation of kids that was born after us because they didn't get to grow up on the Seinfeld. Everything I know about life is from Seinfeld. So thank you, Larry David, for that. Ass man. No, but you know what, guys? How about how much can we talk about the emerging cohesion between Assman Asplund and Victor Olofsson? I am
starting to click.
6 to midnight, dude. Just watching them play and to hear not only that, but I think it was post-game comments. One of the guys, I think maybe it might have been Craig Anderson, might have been Donnie Granato, just talking about the way that they've gelled off the ice as well. That's the shit you love to hear. When's the last time we've heard sound bites like that coming out of this organization? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Two positive young players that are gelling in the right direction that could be anchors of your top 6 for years to come. I mean, I'm sure it helps that they're both Swedes, right?
Yep. Yeah, I think you've seen a focus on them drafting those Russian and European players too, something we haven't seen a ton of in the past. And I think Kevin Adams loves that style of hockey that they have going on over there. That's based on a lot of possession and speed, and just really highlighting the exciting part of the game, which is offense. And granted, Asplund wasn't neither Asplund or Olofsson were Kevin Adams picks, but you see in the last draft, in the draft before that, there was a big highlight on the European and Russian hockey players.
But go back to when who's the old coach, Ralph Kruger.
God,
were we seeing this out of them under him? I think if there's one player that you look that we always knew Victor Olofsson was great. He was a benefactor of a lot of power play goals, but I think if there's one guy 5-on-5 that looks like he's taking a huge step forward under Granato, I think they all have, but it's got to be Victor Olofsson for me.
Yep, 100%.
And I think you could go down the roster and say it for everybody, but for me, now that kind of like losing Sam Reinhart hurt. I loved Sammy, and I'm happy to see him having some success
For sure.
in Florida. He gets to play with Jumbo Joe. I just realized that the other day, not with him, but like in the locker room, and obviously they got to be the favorite. They're on a heater right now, But I think to see Olofsson take that step and to move into that role and kind of be one of the guys. Is it fair to say that he's part of that leadership group? I think.
I think so. Yeah.
There, right.
I mean,
Yeah, he's been there for a minute.
It takes, you have to go if you have a player like him who's succeeding and playing so well and really made a huge transition in his game from where he was last year and to this year, which again, we could say 5-on-5 is absolutely night and day. And not to mention, guys, he's distributing the puck a lot better. Like, we just kind of noticed him. He's a goal scorer. He sits in that spot on the PP and scores goals. You mean Jack Eichel even said it on Spit and Chicklets. This guy could score 40 in his sleep. And yeah, he's right. He can. With the right center, he can. But he's distributing the puck now. He's playing a better two-way game. And, again, that pass, I mean, again, he fought through traffic. He split the D, and he just floated that pass over on his backhand. An unbelievable individual effort. And honestly, if Asplund, I mean, any of us could have buried that.
Asplund started to play too, right? Like that stretch pass starts to play. But for I didn't mean to interrupt you, but what an effort from Olofsson, Duane. You're absolutely right. That was incredible. I really didn't see that coming. I think that we've seen sometimes almost teams playing back on their heels. I don't know if you guys caught it. Wayne Gretzky brought up an idea that, because you see sometimes teams, almost regroup a lot, like when they're in zone, that once you cross the red line in overtime, you can't come back like outside of it with the puck. It's an out there idea. Do you guys know what I'm talking about?
No, I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah,
I just think it's interesting coming from the great one. That's his take on it. But like you said earlier, we were on our heels. They had scored 3 straight to tie it up. You have every reason to believe that they're going to win that game, right? I didn't feel good about it going to a shootout too, obviously because of New Jersey, But what a play! And Asplund, the hockey IQ to know that when he sees Victor cut across to get up in there, that's awesome. You got to love that. Why did I just go big? Get my ugly.
No, I'm just trying to highlight everybody. Just trying to highlight a little bit. No, like you said, man, that's the Granato effect. That's, I think, as we start calling it, the Donnie Meatball or the Granato effect is just, he's letting guys of, who have these offensive capabilities, this higher end, they're letting them go out there and they're letting them play hockey and make hockey plays. It's just even this is all crumbles to the ground and we end up being a bottom feeder team again. At least we're getting exciting hockey again. So I'm extremely ecstatic about this.
Guys, our goal differential is 9. You can say what you want about it being early and we've seen this before, but we're playing consistent hockey. You can call it ugly all you want, but nobody I don't know. I don't know what it. I do know what it is. I think Donnie Granato's got a group that has them saying, you know what? If everybody thinks we're a big fucking joke, then let's make them come in here every time they play us and have to fucking do everything, play a perfect game to get 2 points from us. And it's me, Duane. I told you this last night, and that text. I haven't been this excited to watch Sabres, to stay up and watch a West Coast swing game in 5, 7, 6, 10 years. You know what I mean? When's the last time when you guys were excited to watch stay up and when you work the next day and watch a West Coast game?
I would
playoffs
normally,
last year.
Yeah, I would normally be literally in bed by the game started at 10:15. You know what I mean? It wasn't. I wasn't enthused enough to be able to stay up that late. But this team has gotten me excited to be a Sabres fan again and excited to watch hockey again. And we were talking on the phone for almost an hour last night after the game. You know, I would have never last year stayed awake that late to watch Buffalo Sabres hockey.
Hell no.
I think it's just the difference between Ralph and Donnie is just Ralph had his system, and it was essentially trying to squeeze square pegs into round holes, and it just clearly didn't work. He wasn't playing to the strengths of the people that he had on the ice, and when you're doing that, it's just going to set up everybody for failure, and then the more you fail, the more upset and frustrated and down on your game and down in the locker room that you get. And then once they finally got that 18L streak off their back, you know, at that point it was like, well, there's nowhere to go but up from here. And, you know, Donnie knew who he had. He knew that they have talents. He let them play to their strengths. And in the meantime, he's been helping them work on the stuff that they're not so great at. And, you know, and I think it's because those expectations are, you know, everyone thinks we're a big fucking joke, you know, that it's just like, you know what? All we can control is doing what we do on the ice and, you know, playing the best game we can every night. You know, no one's going to do it all 82 games. No team is perfect, not even back-to-back cup champions, Tampa Bay Lightning. You know, they lost to us 5-1 just like the Habs did. But that said.
Correction, we shoved it up their hoop 5-1.
All right.
No, but
guys, I'm just going to tell you right now, these Eichel to Vegas rumors I'm reading on Twitter now, it is really starting to heat up. Like I'm not gonna be surprised this could happen while we're on air.
That'd be wild.
Yeah, like they are starting to heat up quite a bit, man. That's all people are talking about on Twitter right now. I'm not getting really any updates, but for me, just before we transition over to the Chicago Blackhawks and Kyle Beach, I just want to touch on the one player that I would want back in this deal, you know, that has to be at the top of the list, and that's Peyton Krebs. Right now he's playing in the AHL, 5 points in 2 games. Played 7 games with the Vegas Golden Knights with no points, but he's their top end prospect. Last season in the for Team Canada in the U20 in the World Junior Championship,
a stud in the world.
Yeah, 8 points in 7 games, and you know, last year with
he was one of their captains too.
Duane. Yep, with the Winnipeg Ice, 43 points in 24 games. That's the guy you got to be getting back in that deal.
Absolutely. Let's just picture this real quick. Peyton Krebs in the center, JJ Paterka on one wing, Jack Quinn on the other. I'm going to be in Rochester every single night, boys.
Yeah.
Like this Buffalo Sabres team is great, but when I can watch that an hour down the road, holy hell. Now that's
I think they're playing their way into Buffalo sooner rather than later. But it's exciting to see, you know, like I can't remember the last time we've been this excited about prospects that weren't sent down. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like the whole Middlestat thing. And I just want to say one thing before we transition. We have 2 goalies right now. And I think, you know, since maybe one of Baran's good years or no, probably Miller. I know it's early. Tokarski only has 2 starts. Craig Anderson only has 5. They both have sub 2 goals against average, and they both have, you know, Anderson has a .939 save percentage. Tokarski has a .950. Like, that's awesome. And for being a goalie podcast, I think, Duane, it's something you and I have talked about a ton. You know, and this isn't you know, shitting on Carter Hutton, but what Craig Anderson, and you remember did you see the post game interview? Like, just hearing him talk,
how excited he is. The guy. It sounds like he just drank 3 Red Bulls.
Yeah, I mean, it was funny what Baran and them said about him being a Red Bull spokesperson. Yeah, no, but it just. When I heard Granato say that, you know, when he came in, was he worried about his in shape? He's like, no, the guy looks great. He knows what he says. He's in pro. And what he's brought to this group, you know, he's another reason why we win that game last night. You know, in years past, we easily give up that 4th goal. You know, he calms us down. Going back to just that one simple play right before we score in overtime. Goalies move the puck a lot. Instead, he takes the whistle. Just that veteran knowing that, hey, we need a break here. We need to get some other guys on, right? That hockey IQ that you don't usually expect to see in goalies. That's all I wanted to bring up there. Another surprise too is for me has got to be Gergensons. The guy has always played hard. I got to play against him in the Fatty Hockey League. Obviously, he wasn't going all out in there, but to see him with 3-3, he's a +5. He plays, and he'll do anything you want. Defensively, he's a horse. He's very hard to play against. Very, very good to see him back in the lineup. And you got it. He's been a part of that leadership group and just a guy that you're happy for, right?
Oh, I'm ecstatic for him. Ecstatic. Hello?
Hello?
Hear me?
Oh yeah, no. I was just letting you go.
I'm absolutely ecstatic for him. When you watch Craigie in that, the guy is so steady. Granted, he's old. He's not as quick as he used to be, but the guy is steady. He plays outside the paint. His movement is very calculated. It's kind of like, what did you say last night, Cully, when we were talking about him? The type of style he plays again. I forgot how you worded it.
He's got calm feet, and he's just so good at reading the play, man.
Yeah, he's. I don't want to say like watching him. It's kind of like watching when we had Miller, but Miller really kind of read everything as it came to him and was always looking a play ahead. Was always calculating what was going to happen. Not just the puck carrier, but the guys away from the puck. It was very calculated, and like I said, in all his movements, the way he played the position. And I think of that when I see Craig Anderson, not because that's the way Craig has always played, but I think with his age, that's kind of like the way he has to play.
Work smart, not hard.
Yeah, and you guys both hit the nail on the head. I just so happy for a guy that, he
even said it himself, I think a couple games ago. Thought about retiring if, they won in Ottawa or wherever he was a couple years ago, and played that mentorship role, didn't get a chance really last year. And here he is now, in top 5 in both categories, with what does he have? 4 wins and 5 starts. And it's just awesome to see. And we've been saying it for so long. You just want a goalie to make the saves he needs to make a couple timely saves that maybe he shouldn't, but ultimately to give your team a chance to win the game. And that's what he's done every single night here. And I can't remember the last time we've had that. Well, it's probably Miller consistently. And so I'm just thrilled on that. I do have to jet out here to make it to my next practice in 15 minutes. So I know that, Duane, you wanted to give the Kyle Beach story the time it deserves. I just want to say, a couple clicks and it doesn't even do it justice, but what the courage, I don't even have the right words for it, fellas. I just what he went through and stepping up and being the player to take the stand and make the change that needs to be made, going up against the evil. It really is the evil people like Aldrich. I told Duane, and I'll keep a lighter version, but not only does his name deserve to be X'd off the cup, he should be locked up and throw away the key. Those are predators out there, and I'll let you touch on it, Duane. But you encouraged me to read more into the piece, and I did, and the more I read into it and the more I watched on the TSN report, incredible job by Rick Westhead. He deserves a goddamn award for his reporting on this. But Kyle Beach, just, the whole hockey community's with you. And I just, you're almost disgusted to see what went on behind the scenes with some of these players. I wanted to give, and I have no problem bringing this up, and talking to Duane last night, I wanted to give Coach Quenneville the benefit of the doubt, and I was so fucking wrong. And I publicly will say it right now. We live in a time where sometimes we're knee-jerk reaction, cancel culture, but this is not one of those times. And he was definitely, culpable and responsible. And Duane, I said it to you last night, and I apologize for being wrong. But just my hat goes off to the man that has been through so much and has the courage to stand up and fight the Blackhawks, who are still trying to fuck him in court. That's the part to me that fucking angers me. Sorry, I know you wanted to.
No, it gets me fired up too, Cully. You know why? Because it's when this story first broke, months ago, it really hit me in the heart, because obviously I have a lot of skin in this game. Me and you've talked about it, Cully. I'm only open with a very small amount of people, and the NHL and the Chicago Blackhawks not handling this back in 2010, and then it wasn't only up until 11 years later that, when people's backs are against the wall and a lawsuit is being brought up against Chicago, that they finally decided now is the time to handle it. And this is why things like the Me Too movement were so important, and this is why it's so difficult to come out and say something, because and I want to say it might have been I forget who it was.
Akeem Alou.
No, not Akeem Alou, but no, there was somebody in the past 24 hours who called it. It's like an old boys club, the NHL, and that's what it is.
100%. And even back then too.
Yep.
Like it's gotten better, but it's still, obviously we see now there's something needs to be done for this to take this fucking long like that. Duane, that's what gets me, man. You hit the nail. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but how in the fuck could this be kept under the rug for 10 fucking years?
It's disgusting. And it's not the first time. People don't remember back in Toronto in the 90s, I think it was Martin Cruz, with the Toronto Maple Leafs. I want to say it was Gary Cruz or Martin. I'm sorry, I shouldn't be. I want to say his name was Martin Cruz with the Toronto Maple Leafs. He ended up killing himself because of the sexual abuse that he went through back in the 90s. And it's not the first time, not the first rodeo for the NHL to see something like this. And just the way they handled it is absolutely disgusting. It's reprehensible, and it has no place, not just in hockey, but in all of sports. And it's just another black eye on the NHL, the game we all love to watch. It's disgusting on so many levels. And, when they finally came out with that report, and just the mere fact that the NHL themselves didn't want to investigate this, even though you had so much stock, there's so much weight in the argument that John Doe at the time was providing. Like, this is what happened. I have these people speaking on my behalf that this happened. I spoke out in 2010, and you did nothing. And, it led, it's documented, Bradley Aldridge, it led to more sexual assault and more rape. And the fact
more
that
victims.
There's those kids' innocence and their souls and their blood is on
their livelihoods.
There, because you don't recover from that. I haven't recovered from it. Nobody recovers from that.
No,
you just
you
don't.
Never do. You're
don't.
That's a scar for life.
You don't.
And like you said, Duane, it could kill you. And it's killed people before. Like, it's something that you never recover from.
You don't. The PTSD that you have from it, it's never ending. It's something that doesn't go away. And this is why people don't come out, and this is why it gets so much worse, is because you can't openly talk about it. You can't be open, with maybe your friends and your family. And when you do come there, you're just shoved to the side. It's a joke. Stan Bowman, I butcher his
Shovel Day Off.
Shovel Day Off. Quenneville, all of them. They all should never be involved with kids or hockey again. It's just you showed your true colors, and the only and I don't want to hear the BS from Rocky, or to whatever. That the Stan Bowman he knows today, he feels that he would have handled it differently, if this happened today. Bullshit. I call bullshit, because you had 11 years, Stan Bowman. You had 11 years, Shaleoff. You had 11 years, Quenneville, to say something and do the right thing. You had 11 years, and it wasn't only until you were backed into a corner, Stan Bowman, that you did do the right thing. So no, the Stan Bowman you know today, he wouldn't have done the right thing. He wouldn't have. He would still be out there in Chicago, being the president of hockey ops or the general manager of the. He wouldn't have cared. He still goes to bed fine. He would be still going to bed fine at night. It wasn't until Kyle Beach was brave enough to file this lawsuit these are his words, when he heard about what happened to that boy in Michigan, it made him want to pursue this, and he made him want to tell his story again. It wasn't until all that happened that Stan Bowman finally told the truth and implicated somebody like Joe Quenneville. And shame on the Florida Panthers for allowing that man to be behind the bench 2 nights ago, because apparently going 7-0-0 and being treated fairly in this process is more important than doing the right thing. Barry Zito, go fuck yourself. That's a joke, an absolute joke. I'm so sick of it, man. I'm so sick of it.
And I like I said, I wanted, and I was wrong. I wanted to give Q the benefit of the doubt because I didn't, this was before I had read everything and had more facts. Wanted to believe. I let my fandom of the way he coaches get in the way, thinking, maybe, with Beach being a black ace, maybe Quenneville wasn't around. What he didn't know. Well, he did. And it's just they deserve to be held accountable. But here's the fucked up part, like you mentioned, Duane. This should have been done 10 years ago. The fact that Aldrich was given the option to be let go, and not only that, but given a glowing review, so he could continue to groom and molest or do whatever fucking sick fuck things he does to kids and ruin lives. It just with being a father, it makes me sick. It makes me angry. It makes me sick. It makes me feel so fucking hurt for these boys. And I was in a pro locker rooms, and I didn't go through any of that. But I had a player come out to me, and I was the only one that he came out to, and it just sucked because that was a different time back then, and I'm happy to see that we're moving in the right direction, but fuck them for 10 years and to continue to fight him in court. The fact that this hasn't been, we will do whatever you want, son. We have your back. Whatever you want done, consider it done. The fact that they're still trying to fight this in court, maybe that'll change now. I hope, maybe. Where's Gary Bettman in this whole thing? I don't know. Because you got to remember, this is right at the start of the dynasty of the darling Blackhawks, right?
Yep.
And
they chose winning Stanley Cups over the mental health and the well-being of a player that they drafted and that they were put in charge of, that his well-being. I don't care. Like I said, John Tortorella said it best. First off, he said it blew his mind that there wasn't a single guy in that locker room that couldn't stand up and say, hey, this is wrong. This guy doesn't need to be in the locker room. The very fact that this guy celebrated with the cup after, got a day with the cup, got a Stanley Cup ring, and his name, I know they're going through the process of with the Hall of Fame, the Hockey Hall of Fame, to get his name off the cup. That is in the works, which is good. But the fact that his name has been on the cup for almost a decade is so gross and so repulsive. And the fact that all that celebrating was done in front of Kyle Beach. He even flat out said it. It was disgusting to see this guy celebrate the cup, knowing what he did to him. And now today, knowing what he did to all those other kids.
It gets me. It really does. And I got a jet here in a minute. And I just want to say one thing. I wanted to give the players, I know Pat Kane, he was a big part of my development. I hope to God he wasn't one it's gonna be fucked up to as more and more comes out, because we're only finding out more and more people knew, right, Duane?
Yep.
And I want to be careful to not knee jerk react and point fingers at every single player, but the more that comes out, it just, we have to be careful that we don't indict like every single player, but because it wasn't their job to come forward, but morally, you think they like I don't know, how do you look at yourself in the mirror, even though it's not your job to step up and do something, you're there to play hockey, like how do you, if you did know as a player, how do you live with yourself,
Like I said, there were a lot of players that declined to be involved with this investigation, which speaks volumes.
But do you know where I'm coming from? Like
Yeah,
I
yeah.
wouldn't want to be put in that situation, especially if I didn't have all the facts, because I'm sure they didn't. I know that there was slurs talked about, and some players definitely knew, because there was at least one guy on the team or on the Black Ace group that was talking like that used homophobic slurs against him, and made Kyle Beach's life more of a living hell. And that player just deserves to never be able to touch the ice again. Ban him from hockey. I don't give a shit. But I think we have to get to the bottom of it the right way, and make sure that this doesn't happen again. And I'm gonna leave it with that, because I have to go. But credit to Kyle Beach, and the way he's handled himself, because I can't imagine having the courage to do what he's done. And it's just sad what that this has even had to happen. And I hate to have to leave right now, boys.
No, but real quick before you leave, though, you mentioned it earlier when we were texting, and I 100% agree. Every single team, I don't know who votes on it, every single team, whoever's in charge of nominating a player from their team, I think this should be a layup. I don't think any NHL roster player should be nominated for it. Hands down, go down the list. Kyle Beach should be nominated for the Memorial Bill Masterton Trophy. Yeah, 100%, because there's a single player in the NHL that has anything close to the amount of courage, bravery, perseverance, and just what he's just done in the last 24 hours for the game of hockey. He's done. He's moved mountains for the game of hockey in the last 24 hours, and to change the culture of this game. And it's a layup to me. He should be an honorary winner of the Bill Masterton Trophy.
Yeah, I think I stole that idea. I heard it floating around. I wanted to bring it up. I'm happy you brought it up. When I heard it, like I said, it was a slam dunk. I think it makes the most sense. Does it solve anything? No, but it does. It at least gives him the I don't know if it's the right word, vindication, that what he did is deserving of recognition because of his bravery and his ability to speak out against such horrors. Like, really, as a father now, like, I really am angry. It's going to be tough for me to go coach kids now, thinking of what this animal has done. I hate to leave on that note. I know you guys will do a great job in taking care of the rest of it. I appreciate everyone listening. On a lighter note, go Sabres. I'm excited to watch the game with my daughters this weekend. But Duane, I'm sure you and Steve will do a great job continuing the conversation that needs to be had. But shame on those that knew, and shame on those that did nothing, because that's how I'm going to leave it. If you knew and you did nothing, how do you look at yourself in the mirror? How do you live with yourself?
They've been doing it for 11 years. I'm sure they'll figure it out.
A sad note. I hate to leave you guys, but I do have to get to a practice with a Regals team. So got to fly to Depew. We'll see you boys soon. To all our listeners, thank you for tuning in. Duane, Steve, appreciate you guys working with my schedule here. Hope you have a great rest of the show. And hey, let this be hopefully the last time this is ever have, and it probably won't be, but let's hope to Jesus, or let's hope to whoever's up, let's hope to humanity's sake that we never have to have this conversation or go through this again. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Let this be the end of the Predators in hockey. And it, I there's no words for it. I'm sorry. You guys have done a tremendous job covering it so far. I'll let you finish it off, but sorry to leave early. Kyle Beach, bravo to you, and just know that we have your back going forward. And Kyle Beach for the Masterson, and that's how I'll leave it. I got a jet, boys. I'm sorry. Enjoy the rest of the show, and Duane, I'll talk to you later. Steve, as always, my friend. Take care, boys. Okay.
Not a problem, Cully.
We'll see you.
Yeah, Steve, I know we kind of muted you almost there for a minute. Just before I continue out my thoughts and we close out things out here, let's go. I'd love to hear your thoughts on the whole situation.
I mean, there have been so many people talking about it. I think pretty notably that the Steve Dangle podcast has been doing a pretty tremendous job bringing people like myself up to speed on what's been happening, because as a guy who's at a 9 to 5 every day, there's a lot of things on hockey Twitter that I miss, and I need a show like the Steve Dangle podcast to bring me back up to speed to all the things I had to let buzz in my pocket until 5, 6 o'clock, and by then you're trying to read through a novel of information. But that said, at the end of the day, 5 men in a boardroom ruined the life of a 20-year-old in the name of glory for a Stanley Cup, for a fucking trophy, which, don't get me wrong, it's an impressive thing to win, but they prioritized a piece of fucking metal over a human life. Yep. And because they did that, more lives were forever fucking altered, warped, and made worse because they allowed Aldrich to do what he did. They gave him a letter of recommendation to continue doing it elsewhere after they were through with him. And I obviously I don't understand how you could possibly try to pursue that from a legal standpoint when you know just how in the fucking wrong you are. And I also just don't know how, from a moral standpoint, you can continue to feel like you've won anything.
No, you're absolutely right, man. It's infuriating. The letter of recommendation is repulsive. Knowing the fact that he went on to be, a coach with USA Hockey right after that, and apparently Don Fehr knew about it and had every opportunity to handle it at the highest of levels and chose not to. And apparently he's going on his league-wide tour, and players are, according to Rick Westhead, players are drafting out questions, direct questions to Don Fehr to, ask him why, essentially, why are you qualified anymore after learning this, and how you didn't report this when you directly knew, and it's been proven that you knew. Why are you at all qualified to run the players union anymore? It was his job to handle it. He failed to handle it. He knew 10 years ago, and he didn't do anything. It's disgusting. That's his job. He's supposed to represent the players. Well, Kyle Beach was a player. He abandoned Kyle Beach. Joe Quenneville abandoned Kyle Beach. Stan Bowman abandoned Kyle Beach. The NHL abandoned Kyle Beach. It's disgusting. It has no place in, not like you said, winning Stanley Cups, winning hockey games, accolades. It doesn't go before human decency and doing what's right. And that's exactly what they failed to do. They didn't do what was right here. It's disgusting. They've had 11 years to not rectify what they did, but try and give this guy some type of solace and give, just say, hey, this was wrong. We have to be accountable for this. And nobody can just stand up and do the right thing. They laid their beds laid their heads on their pillows at night knowing that they ruined this kid's life. They derailed his hockey career before it could even get started. And that's why, I don't care if he never played in the NHL. Kyle Beach deserves the Bill Masterton Trophy more than anybody else in the history of this league or anybody who's ever won it. Tell me I'm wrong, because I'm not. And the amount of courage and bravery it took for him to get behind a camera after he essentially outed anyway in the initial report, to get behind a camera with Rick Westhead, and bravo to Rick Westhead for how he handled that. If there's a Pulitzer Prize in Canada for writing and journalism, Rick Westhead absolutely deserves it. There's nobody else, because the way he's handled this whole process from the very beginning and has kept people up to date and helped keep people accountable. That guy is almost just as much of a journalistic hero as anybody I've ever come across, because he put the player first. He took a risk by doing this, and it's paying off for Kyle Beach. The guy is finally getting that solace. It's all he's ever wanted. He's wanted the people who ruined his life and caused this guy to go down the roads of alcohol and drug abuse to deal with the PTSD he was dealing with. Because of guys like Rick Westhead, he's getting that opportunity to finally begin to heal. And it's not easy. Again, I mentioned earlier, I haven't fully healed for the things that I've been through. And again, this isn't about me, but I just know firsthand to an extent what that guy's been through his entire life. And it sucks. It sucks. The depression you go through, it sucks. And I feel so bad for him. And it makes me I get emotional just thinking about it. Anybody who's followed me on Twitter, you've seen it. I'm very outspoken about it, and for good reason. Again, I have skin in this game, and it's so infuriating. It makes me so sad to know that this guy was just abandoned for a decade, abandoned by the game he loves, about the dream he had of playing in the NHL. He was abandoned. And they're still trying to fight him on it. And it's sickening, man. It is absolutely sickening.
Yeah, it's heartbreaking. There are too many synonyms you can throw at it, but it's just abhorrent and unconscionable. Again, and yeah, some of the players could have spoken up. I have a hard time believing that there are people in that locker room that didn't know. But at the same time, some of them are also children. It's, I can understand their fear and apprehension to speaking out, at least from the player standpoint. But ultimately, this was brought to the people that were in charge, the people who had power, not only within their organization, but within the league as a whole, to make this situation right. And they failed him.
All of their names should be erased from that Stanley Cup, not just Bradley Aldrich.
I actually like Sean McAdoo's tweet that rather than just erasing them completely, that they should be X'd out. So that way future generations will ask, why are those names X'd out? And then the story has to be retold. So we don't just forget.
Don't forget about it.
We don't erase it and forget this ever happened.
That's how these things happen again. You forget about them. I mentioned earlier, again, I think his name is Marcus Cruz with Toronto, what he went through, essentially ended up committing suicide. Martin Cruz, I'm sorry. Was it Martin Cruz?
Yes, Martin Cruz.
Martin Cruz. I sorry for Marcus. Martin Cruz, just what he went through, and it essentially ended up ending his life. But that's the thing, is I couldn't remember his exact name. I remember his last name was Cruz. But that just goes to show people didn't remember. The NHL has been through this before. In Toronto, one of the most, polarizing teams in hockey, in the Toronto Maple Leafs, that happened there. And people forgot, and you can't let them forget. We cannot let them forget. This has to be, you have to move forward for the sake of hockey, for the sake of the culture of the game. You have to learn from this. It's disgusting that it's gotten to this point. But we have to learn from this, and for future victims, future survivors, his victims and the survivors of Bradley Aldrich after the fact, after Chicago allowed him with letter of recommendation to go get other positions in hockey to continue to work with kids. You cannot let the people who are responsible for that, the Stan Bowmans, the Joel Quenneville's, the Chiladeoffs. You can't let them forget what they did. They shouldn't ever have to forget. I almost want it tattooed on their fucking foreheads what they did and how they handled this. And they should never, ever, ever work in hockey at any level ever again. Banned, blacklisted, done.
Yeah, I don't see how any of them should be paid millions of dollars to work in this sport ever again.
Ever again. Ever again. And,
I don't want these people pumping my fucking gas, let alone
Yeah.
in charge of something that involves children, teenagers.
Agreed. It's disgusting.
It's fucked up.
Yeah, but again, on a lighter note, the Sabres don't play again until Sunday night against a broken Los Angeles Kings team that's struggling. I believe they started 1-5-1. I believe it was to start the season. I believe.
Yeah, they have the opposite record that we had last night.
Yes. Yep. And Drew Doughty, I believe, is out of the lineup, and another one of their younger players, more important skill players, out of the lineup. So it's they're going to have a tough time, I think, with Buffalo. I'm assuming you'll probably see Cal Peterson in net, or Johnny Quick. I'm not sure which of the two, but I think there's a real good opportunity for Buffalo by the end of this road trip to be 8-1-1. I think they should beat San Jose. I think they should beat Seattle, and I think they should beat LA. So a lot of fun to be had over the next week.
Yeah, I think Buffalo sports fans are going to have a pretty amazing Halloween in that regard, because I don't think that matchup against the Dolphins for the Bills is going to be all that much more challenging.
No, I agree.
So that's
I agree.
definitely pretty reassuring. So
it's fun to talk about the Sabres in this light. That they're good. So they look like they're good. So with that being said, guys, this has been episode 75 of Two Goalies, One Mic. Remember, it's brought to you by Outlet Liquor. Remember, that's the place to buy a case. Just let's go Sabres. And Kyle Beach, you are an inspiration. You are a hero, not just in hockey, but to sexual abuse, assault, rape survivors, victims and survivors everywhere. And your name is the one that should be on the Stanley Cup, not the ones that abandoned you in your time of need. And I'm so sorry that you had to go through that. My heart goes out to you, to your family, and anyone who's been on this difficult journey with you. And I'm so happy that your path to recovery and your path to healing is beginning now. It's still going to be difficult, but yeah, I'm happy. And I mentioned earlier, on not on the show, but I think on Twitter, that I'm going to seek out and find a way to buy a Kyle Beach jersey, with his German team, because honestly, that's the only jersey I want to wear right now, because he's the most courageous individual hockey has ever seen.
Truth.
So this was episode 75 of Two Goalies, One Mic. Again, remember, brought to you by Outlet Liquor, the place to buy a case. And we will talk to you later. Let's go Sabres.